everyone, I'm Sam Squires and welcome to NRL Tonight. Well, round 6 continues this evening with 2 cracking matches which could have more than just competition points on the line, but jobs as well. Before we launch into it, let's first check out what's making news in rugby league this Friday. Crunch time for Shane Flanagan, the Dragons playing for club and coach as they take on a revitalised Manly side. Scott Drinkwater given permission to test the open market as his Cowboys side prepares to take on the Broncos in the Queensland Derby. And Casey McLean slapped with a 1-game ban for a high shot that broke Bulldog Max King's jaw. Yes, all that and plenty more coming up as we count down to tonight's games, and it all kicks off with the Dragons taking on the Seagulls at WIN Stadium. And to preview tonight's clashes, I'm pleased to say that I have 6-time premiership winner and Fox League's very own Kevin Walters joining me live now. Kevy, always a pleasure to see you. Let's launch straight into it. It's crunch time really, isn't it, for Shane Flanagan? How will the result tonight affect his future? If they go 0-6, can they afford to keep Flanagan on?
Good evening, Sam. Lovely to be on the show again. Yeah, look, I think they can. They made a decision at the back end of last year, the Dragons, to extend Shane Flanagan's contract. So, you know, I mean, I'm not really sure about the board and their thoughts. So that's something that they will make a decision on. But certainly is a lot of pressure and building on Coach Shane Flanagan. A win would be terrific for his club and all the fans of the Dragons. So it's going to be a tough night tonight, I feel, for the Dragons. They've made some changes to their lineup, some forced changes as well. So be interested to see how they actually perform tonight under intense scrutiny. Absolutely.
Last week, Flanagan, after the match, had no answers for what went wrong when he spoke to Fox League's Lara Pitt. He was lost for words, really. In your opinion, for the Dragons, what needs to be addressed the most, and can they do it in time for the match tonight?
Yeah, certainly can do it. You know, I feel last week just their confidence was down somewhat, you know, having lost, 4 games in a row. It's now 5 games in a row this season. So that wouldn't be helping things too much. But the inclusion of a couple of players this week, I feel, can help and assist the Dragons in their efforts. Their defence last week wasn't that great. So they need to fix that. And defence is really about attitude. So that's probably an easy fix. I feel that Sloan going back to fullback, I feel that's a positive move for the Dragons, just to give them a bit of energy at the back. I know it's a forced change as well. So, I just feel this could be the Dragons' night. If they can stick together and hang in there early, they could get the right result. And they'll be scratching and fighting and digging hard for it as well for their coach, because they've got a lot of respect for Shane Flanagan and the work that he does for the Dragons.
You talked about Tyrell Sloan with that one change. What about Kyle Flanagan? He's he's back from that massive head knock. Are you surprised to see him back so soon? And is he the answer, in your opinion, in the number 7 jersey?
Yeah, a little bit surprised, but I have great respect for all the medical staff and all the clubs. They do a great job with their players and certainly putting player welfare first. So that would have been the case for Kyle Flanagan. The staff there, medical staff at the Dragons, have given him the all clear to play. And I feel the 7 jumper is his best position for the Dragons. So tonight, it's up to Kyle. If the middle forwards for the Dragons need to give him some space so he can do his thing. He likes to kick the ball well. He's got a good, strong running game, passing game. So he has all the skills to perform tonight. It's just a matter of whether he gets the time and the space to apply those skills.
Kieran Foran, let's talk about the Seagulls. It feels like not long ago they were in the position that the Dragons are in now, but this Kieran Foran era, it certainly is off to a great start from what we could see last week. One game in, but what a game it was. This is a big test tonight, right? To see if last week's performance was a one-off, or is this the new Manly? What do you expect to see?
Well, I'm expecting a similar output from the Manly side. We saw them reinvigorated. They had played with lots of energy, particularly, I like their defence early in the game against the Dolphins. This is week number 2 for Kieran, and he did a great job last week getting them up and about for that game. So game 2 in Sydney, down in Wollongong, I believe. So, yeah, this will be a tougher assignment for the Manly side. And, all the energy of that first week, and they've got the win and all those, that's all forgotten now. It's sort of in the background. So what's in front of them is this Dragon side who are desperate for a win. So I feel the start for Manly is really important, and there's key players, their senior players need to stand up like they did last week. The Travojeviches and Olakau'atu were very good for Manly last week. They'll need to be very good again tonight.
What impressed you the most? You talk about them being revitalised, but what impressed you the most about the Seagulls last week, which was probably missing in the weeks before, apart from that energy?
Yeah, well, it was their defence. I feel early, we know the Dolphins are a very good attacking side, and they made a couple of line breaks early, the Dolphins, but didn't score. So that would have given this Manly side a lot of confidence. And then when they did get opportunities to score points, they come up with it. And it was their gun players, their key players that did all, we see a nice try here from Olakau'atu, just big, strong and powerful, or inside to Travojevic. So those two were very prominent in everything good about Manly, both with the ball and without the ball. So if their key players and their big players can stand up again tonight, I expect them to go on and win this game as well against the Dragons.
Well, the later game, let's get into it, is of course the Broncos and the Cowboys, a game that you always circle at the start of the season. This fixture has produced some absolute classics over the years. You've had a front row seat to so many of them, Kevy. Let's talk about the Broncos first, though. There are some big names out here in Reynolds, Walsh and Hunt. Tom Duffy comes into the number 7 jersey for his club debut. They are big shoes to fill. How do you think he'll go?
I think he'll go really well. I was fortunate enough to watch Tom play the last couple of weeks for South Logan Magpies in the Queensland Cup. My son Harry plays in that side as well, so I got a good first-hand glance at what he brings to a side. I was really impressed with his work that he did at South Logan. So now the opportunity to step up and against, of course, his old club as well. This is a very unique situation for Tom, and I'm sure tonight, if he just keeps it really simple, he's got all the skills that's required for a really good first-class halfback. And with the players that he has around him, I feel like Patrick Carrigan, in particular Payne Haas, Corey Jensen, these sort of guys will give him the space that he needs to actually, showcase his skills. And Ezra Mam as well will be a key foil for him today as well. Ezra's a very experienced player, and I'm sure he'll be a big help for Tom when he gets out on the field to play against his old club at Suncorp Stadium, which I believe is nearly a full house again, which is great for all the rugby league fans, and particularly Broncos and Cowboys fans who are attending the game tonight.
Friday night, Suncorp Stadium. Is there anything better in rugby league? Let's talk about Jesse Arthurs. He starts at fullback with the loss of Walsh. He was a starting winger in this side last year, but he's been playing in Queensland Cup this season. This really is an opportunity for him to really work his way back into the side. What do you expect to see from him tonight in that position?
Yeah, Sam, I'm a big fan of Jesse Arthurs, no matter what position he plays. He's quite a versatile player. He can handle, centre, wing and fullback. So, last week when he came on and Reece Walsh went off with that injury, he was very good for the Broncos. He scored a try and was very good defensively as well with his organisation of the Broncos defensive line, particularly on their try line and their goal line defence. So he's a very accomplished player, very experienced player. He's played in some big games. I'm sure he's really looking forward to the opportunity tonight because Reece Walsh will be out for a period of time. So it's not a one-off for Jesse. He can be there for a month or so, depending on how quickly Reece Walsh recovers. But it's a really good opportunity for Jesse. He belongs at this level, and tonight he's going to show the people why he does belong at this level.
And the Cowboys, like the Broncos, they're out to claim their 4th straight win after what was a rocky start to the season. What's impressed you the most about the Cowboys these last few weeks that will prove a challenge for the Broncos tonight?
Well, last week they kept the Dragons to 0, which was very impressive. And they've always been a team that's been able to score points and score them, pretty quickly. So, again, some of their key players have been in really good form. Their middle forwards, Jason Taumalolo, has set a very good platform. Him and Cohen Hess the last couple of weeks, to get on top of or at least give their side an even chance of possession and field position, which, the likes of Tom Dearden and Co can come into their own. Scott Drinkwater at the back has been very good after copping some early criticism. So, again, like the Broncos, their big forwards, their big men have to stand up tonight to allow, their halves and Co to take control of the game. But they've been very impressive, certainly the Cowboys. Last week against the Dragons and 2 weeks ago coming from behind against the Melbourne Storm to get a win up there in Townsville was most impressive. So they'll be in tonight very confident. And I feel it's a game that they really need to stand up for as well, Sam, because, some of the key Broncos players are missing, and it's time tonight for the Cowboys and their gang to come into town and really stand up for their club.
And saying that, just quickly before we go, Broncos-Cowboys, can they do it? Who's your tip?
Well, I'm going to tip the Broncos purely because it's at home, but I feel like the Cowboys are really going to show everyone tonight what a force they are in the competition. And you can only do that by playing well. And they're playing against the premiers, regardless of a couple of players missing. I expect them to be very prominent tonight, the Cowboys as well. Bring it on, Sam. Let's get this game on.
Cannot wait. As I said, Friday night at Suncorp Stadium, packed stadium. I'm not in Brisbane, but I'm sure the weather is beautiful as well. So, yeah, what a night we're in for. Enjoy the call. Kevy, always a pleasure to chat to you. And have a great night. Enjoy your footy.
Thanks, Sam.
Kevy Walters there, an absolute legend. Love chatting to him. Let's bring in now someone else I love talking to. It is, of course, Coach Sports, Tyson Jackson, to discuss today's big stories. Tyson, I just want to touch on the first game and what Kevy said there, and I want to talk about Shane Flanagan. Is a win tonight enough to save his position?
Look, all the talk around the Dragons, out of the Dragons, around those camps, probably not, to be completely honest. I don't think one win eradicates the poor start to the year they've had. I mean, we can't get lost on the fact that Manly have also started the year quite poorly despite their great win last week against the Dolphins. So, yeah, I think that, look, a win will be great. It might buy him a couple of weeks, but at the moment, it seems like the writing's on the wall for Shane Flanagan, and there are parts in place to get moving around that part.
Let's talk about, you said, might buy him a couple of weeks, because let's look at the couple of weeks that are ahead of him, and there's really no easy matches ahead for him at all. If we can bring up the viz there, as you can see the play there. Next week, the Rabbitohs, then, of course, the Anzac Day clash against the Roosters. Then they have the bye, and off the back of that, of course, Knights and Panthers. It's a tough road ahead, but the bye is an interesting time that a lot of people are talking about for the Dragons. Yeah,
look, if they can somehow pull up 3 wins, it could change things for them, to be completely honest. But that bye period, like you said, that's a real interesting time, because if for some reason they can't, or it keeps trickling down the same path that it's been on, I mean, it gives the Dragons a perfect time and a perfect strategy to maybe exit Shane Flanagan and bring someone else in. Look, it's going to be interesting. I mean, when Shane Flanagan was signed, I thought he was the right person for the job. I love what he has done with this team, but things just don't seem to be going right at the moment, and that bye week's going to be very interesting.
There's an image floating around as well of the Dragons merchandise truck, which has fallen over. It's crashed on Bulli Pass, just outside of Wollongong. Is this a bad omen that's floating around?
Yeah, it's a terrible omen. I mean, I do want to let everyone know that the driver of the car that was towing the trailer is okay. So I guess that's good news. That could be a good omen. But yeah, the flip, it hasn't been good. There is a Dragons merchandise truck literally crashed into the side of a road, and cars are being forced to go around it to get down to Wollongong at the moment. So, yeah, bad omen, I think.
Let's talk about, we've got the Cowboys and Broncos tonight, but there's a big story that's broken this afternoon regarding Cowboy Scott Drinkwater. Is something that we've talked about, his contract. What can you tell us? What's the latest there?
Yeah, we spoke a couple of weeks about Scott Drinkwater potentially going to the Tigers. Now, that was shut down pretty quickly, but this will not go away. For a while, we've heard rumblings that Scott Drinkwater has been, I don't think on the outer is the right word, but they're looking to move Jackson Purdy to fullback, which leaves Scott, the odd man, out. He came on NRL 360 on Tuesday night, I think it was, and said that he hadn't heard anything from the club, and that was true. He hadn't. Everyone else seemed to have, but Scott hadn't. But now the club has formalised and given him and his agent formal permission to look elsewhere. He's got a year left on his contract, so next year he is supposed to be at the Cowboys. But I believe if he can get a deal now, if he can get a deal done, he won't be at the Cowboys next year. And it looks as though the prime target for Scott Drinkwater would be the Dragons. They're desperate for a fullback, desperate to move Clint Gutherson out of that number 1 jersey and get some speed and X factor in there. And Scott Drinkwater is a prime target, and it would not surprise me if, whether it's the coming days or coming weeks, Scott Drinkwater is signed on with the Red V as part of their mission to climb back up the ladder.
Super interesting what's going to happen there with the coach, with the club, with the signings as well. Of course, they've got that reported freeze on signings as well and contracts. Let's wait and see what happens there. Let's look, though, at the fallout from last night's game. Penrith's Casey McLean is facing a 1-week suspension for this high shot on Max King that broke the prop straw. The Panthers centre was sent to the sin bin for the shot in his side's loss to the Bulldogs. On Thursday night, he's been slapped with a grade 2 careless high tackle charge and faces a week with an early guilty plea. 2 if he fights and loses. Now, Bulldogs utility Kurt Mann escaped with a $1,000 fine for his grade 1 careless high tackle charge. What a match and a performance from the Bulldogs we saw last night against the Panthers. I mean, a week before we were talking about the fact that you could pretty much have the grand final now and no one could beat the Panthers, and lo and behold, the team that was under so much pressure came out and really performed. But there is a story on the News Corp websites today about a rude gesture from Ivan Cleary that he made to Bulldogs fans. What's the latest there? What's that story?
Yeah, look, Ivan Cleary, I'm not going to repeat the gesture because I don't think it's appropriate for the show. But yeah, he's made a gesture to a fan who's obviously given him some stick while in the box last night. And look, it's not the first time Ivan has interacted with the fans like this, so it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. But yeah, he's made this gesture and it's come under a little bit of criticism. I mean, some people find it hilarious, other people find it highly offensive. But yeah, it's not a great look, is it? I mean, especially someone who's won 4 premierships, does he really have to go?
He was just so cool like and calm and good under pressure, and it was just a slight crack we could see in that really tough armour of the Panthers coach, wasn't it? Yeah,
it definitely was. And I mean, like, look, he's not hurting anyone, but just the optics of it. We are a game that does love to look at optics, and the optics don't look good when it comes to Ivan Cleary making a gesture like that at someone. And like I said, he does have form. There was a time that he played the Tigers when he just left the club there, and he did a crying emoji, not crying emoji, but
real life
did a
emoji.
crying expression to the Tigers fans, and you know he does love it. And look, there's a part of me that loves coaches interacting with that stuff and getting to see a bit of personality, but maybe just thinking twice before doing a gesture like that next time would probably be the smarter move.
Maybe the crying one was very different to the one that we saw last night, that's for sure. We'll watch this space. Stay put there. We'll chat with you after the break because we are actually off to a break here on NRL Tonight. But when we come back, Benji Marshall hits out at the NRL over a dangerous precedent, and could Gemat Shibasaki be heading to the Storm? We'll hear from Melbourne coach Craig Bellamy next. Welcome back to NRL Tonight. I'm Sam Squires. Well, the Storm have been linked with a move for Broncos centre Gemat Shibasaki, who's off contract at the end of the season. Craig Bellamy playing a straight back to those questions.
I don't actually know that, with all due respect. We're having a recruitment win today, actually, so I don't know, what's going to come up there. I haven't heard that, to be quite honest.
Let's bring back in Code Sports journalist Tyson Jackson. Tyson, very interesting response from Craig Bellamy there regarding Shibasaki. What did you make of it? Could we see Shibasaki in the purple of the Storm anytime soon? Yeah,
I do love the response from Craig because it kind of says, I don't know. But I mean, deep down, we know they're chasing an outside back. And look, I can tell you that Melbourne have lodged an expression of interest into Shibasaki to see what the situation is there and when they can get him, if they can get him. Look, he started the year a bit down on form. He ended up on the bench for the Broncos. He's made his way back in. But look, the biggest part for Shibasaki, he's only on about $160,000 a year. Off contract next year. He's the Australian centre. He's the Queensland centre.
Premiership winner.
Yeah, he's a premiership winner, and he probably wants more money, and that's something that Melbourne can probably offer. They lost Ryan Pappenhausen last year. They're going to lose Nick Meaney, Will Warbrick, Tyron Wishart next year. So someone like Shibasaki is a perfect kind of slot in there. I mean, he's a strike centre. He can score heaps of points, and something that they probably really lacked this year. So it would not surprise me if we see Shibasaki in the purple and yellow of Melbourne.
We rarely see Storm struggle with recruitment, do we? But it has been a bit of a challenge so far this season. Well, Tigers coach Benji Marshall says the NRL is setting a dangerous precedent after Luke Lely was sin-binned for the tackle that saw Eels winger Bailey Simonson suffer a dislocated ankle. Lely was suspended for 1 week. Marshall says he's been told that he was binned based off the injury.
Well, we got some clarification from the NRL about, or the referees in particular, about the sin bin was because of the injury. So if he didn't get injury, it wouldn't have been that way, So that's hard to cop, which I think it sets a pretty dangerous precedence because if, the referees are not doctors, so if someone stays down and pretends they're injured and gets sin bin, then gets up and they're okay. Like, what are we creating, So with saying that though, I'm not trying to disrespect the injury to Bailey because. I really like Bailey and I felt sorry for him given how good he's going. But it was an accident from Luke's perspective. There was no intent. But that's done and dusted now. We can't change that. Someone else gets an opportunity this week for us and we'll just move on.
Tyson, do you agree with Benji here? Is it fair to take the injury into account when sin binning? Is that something you want to see?
Look, I personally don't like it because I think rugby league players, when they sign up to play, they know what the risks are. You know, I think if someone intentionally goes out to hurt someone, there's a different story there. But I think when we're looking at certain aspects of the game, like tackling in the air, if Luke Lalili's getting sin binned for tackling in the air, everyone who tackles in the air should be sin binned, despite what the injury is, because if they want to eradicate it out of the game, that's the best way they can do it.
If it takes out that player who's a starting player for one side, then isn't it fair then it takes out another player from the opposition?
You can't control everything on the field, sadly. Like that's just not how rugby league works. It's never been how the game works, and I can't remember a time where we've actually been, or we've seen so much of players being suspended or being sin binned due to what the injury is that occurs, because they could be the same actions that have no injury, right? It is a freak accident, and look, like I can't say what it's like. I haven't been in that situation, but yeah, I tend to agree with Benji that I think it is pretty dangerous to start sin binning off injuries, because there are a lot of injuries that are freak accidents at the end of the day.
But just quickly, do you think we'll see, as Benji said, injury, like players fake injuries, so they stay down, so they get sin binned and then come up, like, you know, will it be like in the soccer in the Premier League?
Well, that part, I mean, there are players that stay down and you know, milk for penalties, but I don't think they're going to fake injuries, because if you start faking injuries, you're going to end up off the field. Like, so I think, yeah, we do already have players flopping and holding, you know, down, doing things like that, but I don't think they're going to fake injuries, so to say.
Let's hope not. Perth Bears coach Mal Meninga has brushed off any boardroom trouble concerns at the new club ahead of their entry into the competition next year. With an NRL doubleheader in Perth this weekend, the Bears unveiled their new mascot, Cody the Bear. But the attention revolves around the reported boardroom dramas centred around Meninga ally and General Manager of Football David Sharp.
Oh, not lie. Everything's going really well. We just had a board meeting this morning. It's nothing's been mentioned, you know. So I don't know how this got out or why it's got out. I guess because the double headers in Perth, and all of a sudden, you know, we're trying to find some negativity with it all, you know. So, you know, I think, you know, if you look at every week, you know, there's the Dragons that they've gone through, you know, some turmoil. The Broncos have gone through turmoil. Manly's gone through turmoil. I just think it's our turn because we've got a double header over here.
So with that board meeting, apparently it was to kind of talk through things, and maybe David...
Well, it's not, it wasn't even discussed.
So his job stayed though, David?
As far as I know.
Drama at the Perth Bears. They haven't even entered the competition yet. Is there drama, or is this just rugby league? That's what comes with the territory, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, when you say rugby league, there's always drama attached. That's just the game we cover. But yeah, look, there has been a little bit of drama, and there has been rumblings around Perth for a number of weeks now. This isn't the first thing that's come out. Like, I love Mal trying to brush it under the rug, saying it's only because there's a doubleheader in Perth, but this is not why this story has come out this week. Look, there's talks of a rift in a relationship between CEO Anthony DeSegli and David Sharp, which is a huge issue, because Anthony DeSegli, the CEO, shouldn't be having issues with someone who is Mal Meninga's right-hand man almost when it comes to recruitment and things like that. Mal actually spoke to Code Sports before this press conference and said that, you know, he doesn't know a family or organisation which doesn't have any friction. That tells me a different story to saying, well, I don't know what friction you're talking about. Like this, he literally said that 24 hours before this press conference. But he also said he's not going anywhere. So for any Perth Bears fans, for any fans of this new rugby league team, I don't think there's anything to really stress over, because you still have your coach there. Look, there's going to be friction. There's going to be drama. That's rugby league. That's why we love it. But yeah, I'm not sweeping under the rug like Mal is, for sure. There is definitely something going on there. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
And just wait until they actually start playing as well. There'll be plenty more coming out from Perth as well. But thank you so much for joining us on the show, Tyson. We've loved getting your insights and the extra information on the day's big stories. Enjoy your weekend of football.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Rabbitohs coach Wayne Bennett admits he's not expecting Brandon Smith to play many minutes in his first NRL game of the season. Smith will make his 2026 debut for the Rabbitohs in Perth against the Raiders on Saturday afternoon. The hooker missed the start of the season due to a calf injury.
You know, he won't be at his best tomorrow. We're 5 weeks into the comp now and he hasn't played a game, so but he'll be good. He'll be good, and we just need to get him in the team and get him playing for us each week.
South take on a Raiders side riding a 4-game losing streak. Canberra haven't tasted victory since a 1-point win back in round 1.
At this stage, really, it's important for us to get our game going. It's as I said there a moment ago, fundamentally we've got to be better, and we're making it very hard for ourselves, and possession rate and whatnot has been, our fault in regards to not having enough of it, and it just puts too much stress on your defence. So, we've got to be better fundamentally.
This will be the Raiders' first game in WA since 1997. Well, that's all we have time for on NRL Tonight. Fox Sports News has all your headlines all night long on Channel 500. And for viewers on Fox League, the Dragons' Manly clash is up next. Enjoy your footy.